Blog Talk Radio. Okay, well, the introduction music is on spin, so I am going to just begin. Apparently the Wi-Fi connection is just a little bit slow tonight, so as I'm talking here, we probably, let's see, yeah, I can't shut that off, so that's going to interrupt, and we'll just let that run once it starts. So hello everyone, welcome to episode number 9 tonight on Twilight Epiphanies Talk Radio, where Ivo Bove and myself are going to be continuing our discussion on transitioning to a plant-based diet. So in last week's episode, Ivo introduced us to some of the most significant pioneers in the field of consuming what we often refer to as a mucusless diet, a fruit-based diet, a plant-based diet, etc. Hello everyone and welcome to Twilight Epiphanies Talk Radio with Cindy Magnuson, and the show is about to begin. So slow down, take a seat, put your feet up, and maybe take some notes, because this show is about you, it's for you, and it is designed to help you receive exactly what you need to be a happier and healthier you. Okay. So as I was left off there, tonight Ivo is going to join us for approximately an hour, and then I'm going to take over for the rest of the show. He is in transit, and we have a little bit of background noise, but we're going to go for it because we wanted to keep this fluid conversation going. First of all, we are in the middle already of our 6th prize giveaway in the Feminine Frequency Radio Network launch, and I have already posted instructions on my Facebook page and my other Source Energy Epiphanies page, as well as on the radio network page, as to how you can enter to win. And at the end of the show, I will be announcing that again here as to how you can do that. Now, before we start, I want to say that as we're discussing these topics today, Ivo and myself are not providing medical advice. The conversation we are having is based on our own personal experiences and the knowledge that has been presented thus far to us by the leading pioneers in the fields of holistic health. You and you alone are responsible for your choices and experiences, and it is our expressed desire to provide greater awareness of the countless hundreds of thousands plus of people so far who have already healed every known illness up to 4th stage terminal cancer through initiating the process of transitioning, eating a plant food diet, cleansing, and of fasting. And for those of you who have not tuned in already, starting with us last week, Ivo Daria, and he took us through the process as he slowly transitioned, and we're not going to go over that again as we begin here tonight since there's a little bit of short time, but I'd like to refer you back to that 8th episode, which was on August 23rd, and you can start there if you are just tuning in with us. So what we'd like to start with tonight is looking at the differences between how mainstream medicine approaches an issue in health, a disease, something that toxic that is happening with the body, as opposed to how a naturopath, a holistic practitioner, a detox specialist would approach that same space. So I'm going to open up Ivo's mic here. Hello, Ivo. Okay. Okay, we might need you to talk up just a little bit. It's a little low.
All right, can you hear me now?
Okay, yes, that's good. So as we begin, I thought of maybe we can first of all take a look at diabetes, and in consideration of how mainstream medicine would generally approach diabetes, type 2 diabetes, they would look at that with addressing it with maybe oral medication and, of course, changing the diet. So how would a detox specialist or someone like Dr. Morse, for example, in these fields approach diabetes that's different than how mainstream medicine would approach it?
Yeah, well, allopathic medicine, has a name for all these diseases, of which, according to them, there's no cure, they're not reversible, and you basically get treated for life. And then, because allopathic medicine is compartmentalized, the secondary effects of having this condition and the side effects of the medication cause other breakdowns and other issues with the body, which you're then assigned to a different doctor that's in charge of that part of the body. So it's like having 5 blind men tasked with being able to tell you what, like if you have 5 blind men and you have them around an elephant, you have one with the nose, one touching the foot, one touching the tail, and different parts of the elephant. Their task is to tell you, to describe to you what it is that what they're touching. But every one of them has a different idea because they don't see the elephant as a whole. And that kind of, for me, describes allopathic medicine. I don't want to talk bad about allopathic medicine as a whole because for emergency care, trauma care, they're excellent. But disease care, with the exception of some viral loads or some bacterial infections, I mean, they don't reverse anything as far as diseases are concerned. So with diabetes type 2, there's, the Dr. Morse way. People have done it the Dr. Gabriel Cousens way, and then there's another one that does cooked vegan foods out of Maryland, and his name slips on my mind, and he has a book as well. Slips on mine. But there's different ways to do it. With Dr. Morse, basically, he'll put you on fruits, berries, and melons, as he calls it, and you can do salads as well. It depends on how high your blood sugar is, but and he'll do a herbal protocol. Dr. Gabriel Cousens will put you in a raw, vegan, low glycemic diet. Basically, he's afraid of fruit, but it works as well. And then Neil Barnard was the other doctor. He's a medical doctor, and he'll put people on a vegan diet, low-fat vegan diet. So there's 3 different ways that they would approach it. The latter 2 don't use herbs, and I've helped guided many people with diabetes type 2 and 1, and people can reverse diabetes type 2 with herbs or without herbs. It's not a prerequisite to have herbs. If you want to spend the money and get some herbs as an extra precautions, go ahead. But I've seen people just heal on a raw foods diet. Now with the cooked starch-based diet, like Neil Barnard talks about in his book, it would take a little longer just because the starches are complex sugars, and so your blood can elevate the sugar in the blood for a long time, whereas foods will hit the bloodstream and it'll spike and come right back down. So people can do a low-fat combination of, depending on how high their blood fasting sugars are. If they're waking up with 400, in the morning, I don't want to scare them with going on fruit. So maybe I would go more the Dr. Gabriel Cousens way into a low glycemic raw vegan diet until their blood sugars come down, and then they can introduce fruit, your simple sugar, the fructose. But one thing people don't want to do is when you're eating a raw vegan diet, and especially if you're eating fruits, you don't want to mix it with fat because the higher fat content, it will cause the blood sugar to stay elevated, and because your cells can either they're going to be processing fat or sugar, and what happens is that the fat gums up the cell, if you will, and insulin, which is the carrier of glucose, the cell can't get in because the fat has gummed up the lock in the cell. And this happens, people get diabetes type 2 using a standard American diet, eating meat, dairy, eggs, processed foods, processed sugars, refined foods, and all that. Yeah, but basically, they're eating a high-fat diet if you break it down to the macros. And some people can handle it. It depends on genetic predisposition. Some people will break down later on in life, some people earlier. But it's now it's getting to the point where the majority, I don't know if it was at 3/4. I don't know the exact ratio, but many children are going to have diabetes. And people are getting that at a younger and younger age.
Yeah.
For sure. But the diabetes type 2 is reversible. Diabetes type 1, it depends if it's neurological or if it's a beta cell issue. If it's a beta cell issue, if they catch it early, it's called child onset diabetes, and if they catch it early, if they can do something before the pancreas stops producing insulin. Basically, the difference between 2 and 1 is that type 1, your pancreas produces no insulin, and type 2, your pancreas does produce insulin. It just can't get into the cell because the cell, like I said, is gummed up, and so that's that issue. And but all type 2 is reversible, and as you also lose weight on this path. Most people with type 2 are overweight, but they're not necessarily, but the majority are. And so as people lose the weight, the blood sugar starts going down, and eating accordingly a low-fat diet. Although Gabriel Cousins is arguably a higher fat, low glycemic raw vegan diet, and that can kind of work. I mean, that works as well because your body can, like we talked in the last show, is you're either running off sugar or you're running off fat, but you can't mix the two. You'll have issues. Because we like we talked about in the last show, we've developed ways if crops in harvesting season came late or whatnot, people were able to fast or run on fat, and basically you can fast and break down fat in the body and run on ketones. And that's in essence what the big fad now with the ketogenic diet, trying to eat a high-fat diet, which that too kind of lowers blood sugar, but long term it's no good, and it still doesn't rid you of the disease. So, but with the raw vegan diet, so I would say low-fat raw vegan diet, depending on what your blood fasting sugars are, you can start with fruits, and if it's too high, maybe just do a low glycemic raw vegan diet, like Gabriel Cousins, and people can look up his book that he has on diabetes, and he has also a documentary that was produced by what's it,
The Tree of Life.
From the Tree of Life. Harry, that famous actor, Woody Harrelson produced it, and he has and it's called Simply Raw. I believe, and they can watch that documentary and then get into his books and try that way. But it's reversible. I don't know if you have any specific questions. Sometimes I can ramble on and maybe.
Oh no, that was perfect.
Okay.
No, that was perfect.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And inspirational, that documentary you're referring to, I have given that to several diabetics to watch it, borrow it out to them. I saw that so many years ago, and I highly also recommend it for anyone because it takes people through the different mindsets that people have. There was a juvenile diabetic, there was a long-term diabetic, there was, just new to diabetes. There was a young man in there who was just about to go on an insulin pump, and he actually, started producing insulin again. So the success rates and how it happened over a period of time, it happened differently for each person based on the factors that were prevalent around them and the emotional responses to it. So it's a very good movie to watch that as you are saying that, the most important thing you said there also was that it is reversible. And it has been reversed thousands of times already with following these structures. And those are very nice different methods to use. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, a next area that people would be looking at that detox specialists, etc., holistic practitioners treat very differently is cancer.
Yeah, as Dr. Morse calls it, he calls it the interstitial lymphatic constipation. Basically, Dr. Morse talks a lot about the lymph system versus the blood system, the two rivers of the body. The blood constituting 25% of the interstitial fluid and the lymph constituting 75%. And basically, where the blood is the kitchen and the lymph is the sewer system. And he talks about how by eating these acidic foods that we eat, we stagnate the lymph's not moving, and that causes cancer, according to Dr. Morse, quoting him. And so, with cancer, a lot of people are afraid. They say, well, you don't want to feed the cancer sugar, you don't want to feed cancer fruits, fructose. But the thing is that people are always talking about you want to starve cancer of sugar. But the thing is, all cells live on sugar, and so and the idea that you're gonna starve the cancer by doing a ketogenic diet, you're actually feeding it. But with the all fruit, you could do all fruit diet, or you can add some salads here and there, and that's basically what we're doing the Dr. Morse modality, and add herbs. Dr. Morse has his line of herbs, different formulas, and we do an iris iridology iris analysis, and that, in addition to what the person tells us as far as what they have, we can double check in the iris, and that's how we write a herbal protocol. But people have reversed cancer without herbs. Like I said, for me, herbs are like icing on the cake. If you can afford them, do them. I'm always guiding people to get herbs different places. There's Dr. Morse, there's Gina from the Master Fast. You can go to Mexico and buy a big pack of herbs for 88 cents. There's Star West Botanicals. There's several websites to get cheaper herbs. You can make your own tinctures. There's different ways to do it for different budgets, and I believe healing belongs to everybody, regardless of financial background. And so it's important that people understand that there's different ways with the herbs to do it, so that it doesn't break their piggy bank. But people have reversed cancer without any herbs at all, just with diet alone. Stop eating the acidic foods that acidify the body and back up the lymph, which are your meat, dairy, eggs, your grains, your legumes. Because we're a frugivore species, so if we give the body the food that it's designed to ingest, and these are, which are fruits and vegetables, your body they're easier food to digest. Your simple sugars, your body doesn't, a complex sugar, your body has to break it down. These starches, the same thing with the protein, it's got to break it down, the protein to amino acids. These are complex proteins, and so it's making the body work a lot harder like that. But with fruit, sugar, there's no worries. Dr. Morse talks about that fructose enters the cell by diffusion instead of how all of us have been taught that the liver has to convert it into another simple sugar, glucose, in order for it to be absorbed. And that kind of sounds ludicrous. And anybody who works with diabetics type 1s who don't produce any insulin will know when you put a diabetic type 1 on all fruit, fructose, their blood sugars start dropping a lot more so than if they're eating glucose. And so anybody who works with diabetics will see this, but it's hard for the average person eating a standard American diet to go on an all-fruit diet. That's why you could do fruit, throw in salads, but you really got to be careful with that fat content. Your avocado, you don't want the nuts and seeds; those are acid-forming foods. You want to be careful with those when you're trying to heal. When you're not healing, you can have some nuts and seeds here and there. You can have some avocado, but when it's healing time, you want to be careful with the fats.
Okay. So the focus in there was that allopathic medicine generally has people afraid of using fruit to feed the cancer, since they are aware that sugars feed the cancer, except that they're not removing the other even toxins from the body, and they are giving the public a differing and maybe distorted, obviously, data about fruit sugar versus processed sugar.
Yeah, because the study that's been going around is the study was done on high fructose corn syrup, which is a totally different thing. But people don't read the studies. They just take the word for it. Oh, it came out in New York Times, or it came out in the newspaper, or it came out on this website, or a doctor said it, or whatever. People don't really research the claims that are made. For sure.
Okay, and so the truth of the matter is that what can be addressed in a cancer situation is that if you begin to eliminate the toxins and then start to get your kidneys filtering, your lymphatic system working again, you basically are getting out of your body's way for your body to initiate its own healing response. Correct?
Yes, for sure. And you're eating the foods that allow that to happen, and that are easy to digest and the least burden, that put the least burden on the body.
So it's a significant factor to understand that taking out the heavier foods that need a lot of energy, that the body is so busy doing that basically it is just going through digestion most of the time. And what you were saying about Dr. Morse's idea about what he says cancer is, the body has stored the toxins in the body, and that is what the cancer is, in a sense. Is that what you were saying?
No, it's lymphatic. It's just a lymphatic constipation. You have stagnant waste. Your lymphatic system is your sewer system, and so the buildup, your body being so acidic, and that's basically how he defines cancer. Basically, you have damaged cells. So then you have damaged cells. Basically, that's all cancer is damaged cells due to this interstitial lymphatic constipation, which can bring about other conditions as well. Yeah. Hello?
Okay, I'm here.
Yeah.
So most of these people are attributing the very core foundation of our illnesses and diseases, which have significantly increased over the last 50 years, for example, are because of this systemic acidosis that's happening, this clogged lymphatic system.
for sure. Most of the cancers. Now, there's also cancers due to exposure to other toxins in the atmosphere. You know, if they found, you know, people are by a cell phone tower, you'd have noticed that there's a lot of higher incidence of cancer by cell phone towers. So there's just other things too. People who work with chemicals. It's not just what we ingest, but I would say the majority of the chemistry that we take on is usually through the mouth for most people.
And then when we're looking at it, let's say if we are healthier in general, we would be able to break down these toxins easier in our system. And also we would be more aware of them because we would be more intuitive about the symptoms that are coming on. So we would sense and be aware of these toxins more.
I mean, if we're aware of what the symptoms, you know, I mean, it's hard, you know, we're not taught how to decipher the signals that our body are sending us.
Yeah. That seems to be one of the most prevalent issues that I see we deal with, is that my clients will come in and I see them being told that their doctor said their symptoms were for maybe aging, or just accept that, or it's just the way it is, it's just the luck of the draw. And then I'm aware that these symptoms are part of acidosis and a clogged lymphatic system, because I've read about them, I've seen them, I've observed people who had them, and they reduced the symptoms by changing their diet. So part of even how we look at cancer is not just that, oh, it happened to us, and well, of course, like you said, there are many factors, but when you can address your health also from in this holistic standpoint by working with your diet, you have a very strong potential to heal yourself from whatever you have going on.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
And it's and ultimately people have to decide what modality they want to go with. You know, there's many people trying to get their family member onto this way of thinking, and they just don't want to do it. And someone who doesn't want to do something, who's not going to, be wholeheartedly, doesn't believe in it, is not going to do it 100%. Sometimes even if you don't do it 100%, if you cheat here and there, you'll have success as well. But if their heart's not set in it, it's tough to, you can only lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink.
Yes, and that is the point that, of course, is very difficult for us, because we know it could be different, but we can't change everyone's way of thinking, and if they need to have the experience to a certain degree, they will. I will say that I recently had a family member diagnosed with cancer, and I knew what they were walking into, but the doctors telling them the chemo and radiation, the story the doctors told that if this would do this, and it's going to be okay. And I knew that something entirely different was going to be taking place. And I, with caution and, humbleness and politeness, explained, what other options were there. But once a person has gone so far into a system, it's very difficult sometimes to bring them out. But their reactions afterwards for what they experienced in the system, they had definitely a more open-minded awareness of what I had talked about previous to them beginning their chemo and radiation. So,
Yeah.
Go on.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry. No, go ahead and finish, and then I'll I'll continue.
That was it. Sometimes meaning that we can't always take the lesson away. You also had a family situation where, if there's a sister that's a nurse, they're getting different information, and it does make it more difficult, but it helps people to realize, to be more open-minded, but they still have to go through the experience. And it is what it is. It is a self-exploration experience. And if we're going to hold our hand in that way, then now I have the opportunity in this time frame to go in and helping to detox from the treatment as best as possible, and gain back quality of life. You go from there. And it still seeded something new. It doesn't matter. It happened that way, but it seeded something new. So, and you were going to say?
I was saying, and some people decide to go to chemotherapy and radiation routes, which, the success rate is pretty low. Survival rate is based on a 5-year, but it's some people even go who want to go that route. I suggest they look into Dr. Walter Longo's work there at USC. He's studying fasting and the effects of fasting, and it helps to mitigate the effects of the chemo and radiation for people going through that. Even intermittent fasting and stuff. He has some stuff on that online. You can find out. He has also videos. But there's different ways. There's a Dr. Morris way, the fruit way. There's a Dr. Nicholas Gonzalez who died of a heart attack. Don't know too much about the details, but he was the one that helped Suzanne Summers reverse her cancer, and he had a different approach. He believed that different people require different diets, whether they're parasympathetic dominant or not. And so he would heal people. Some people eating meat. Some people were more a vegan diet. Some people were more vegetarian. He had different ways of doing it, and he had success. So, which is different than how we understand cancer. We want to get rid of all acidic foods, but I think it's different for different people with different conditions that people have. Many of us working with different people, we can attest to the fact that they tell us, I cheated this time, this many times, and people do get better with a certain amount of cheating involved as well.
Sure.
I would be serious for sure if I had, with cancer, I would probably not want to cheat, but everybody's different, the genetic predisposition, how robust, their immune system is or not. But it's like playing Russian roulette,
Yes. Okay. Well, Ivo, it's time to go to a commercial break, so I am going to mute you and go to a commercial, and I will bring you back on in 4 minutes about, okay?
All right. Sounds good.
Hello and welcome. You are now entering the corridors of Twilight Epiphanies Talk Radio with your host, Cindy Magnuson. Premiering Thursday evenings, 7 to 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time on Feminine Frequency Radio Network. You are invited on a talk radio journey to the center of self. Join us as Cindy guides you, the listeners, in sensory and perception upgrades where revelations and golden epiphanies pierce the veils of illusion. Don't miss this opportunity for your next dose of Twilight Epiphanies.
Are you a mother, father, teacher, healer, trendsetter, or innovator concerned with our future generation? Come join the family at Small Voices, Big World, where we talk to leading experts in child development, care, compassion, friendship, and community. Join us live Saturdays at 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on the Feminine Frequency Radio Network. We hope you join us as we spark new ideas that will shape our future and the small voices that will create this big world.
Organic Frequency Radio Show is 1.5 hour live chat with Stephanie and Oksana and their lovely guests about the nature of existence and holistic way of living here and now and perhaps even after. Join us every Monday at 6:30 p.m. Pacific Time. Call-in number to listen live is 929-477-1183, and to ask a question, press 1 to connect to the studio. Our guests share their stories and walking path of their healing, along with services that they have developed and packaged for the rest of the world to experience and benefit from. We're here to hold a space for an exchange of experiences for the purpose of evolvement and expansion of consciousness. Feminine Frequency Radio Network hosts shows 7 days a week. Call in to listen live 929-477-1183 and dial 1 to connect to the studio to ask a question, or listen online via blogtalkradio.com/Feminine Frequency Radio Network.
Okay, hello everyone, and hello again, Ivo.
Hello.
And okay, so very true. So for the listening audience, to let them know that there are many different options that they can go into. I remember even seeing a cancer series, the Truth About Cancer series, and in there were also medical approaches that were different than the chemo and the radiation, and they were also very gentle on people, as opposed to what the chemo and radiation would be doing, and they were getting very miraculous results with those alternative methods. So also, we have kind of some people in the background there, Ivo. Maybe you can move a little bit away from...
In about, probably in under 10 minutes, maybe about 10, I probably should go. I'm here at the entrance.
Okay.
And there's some people that are going to be passed by me talking.
Okay, wonderful. Would you like to talk about rheumatoid arthritis then?
Yeah, well, with your arthritis, whether it be rheumatoid arthritis or whatnot, it's high uric acid. The body needs a uric acid. If you're eating a high meat, dairy, eggs diet, this is causes to have excess uric acid. And so basically for pretty much everything, we're promoting the same type of diet, a fruit-based, raw vegan diet, low-fat, fruit-based, raw vegan diet. And depending on people's conditions, some people might want to go all fruit, some people might have to do more vegetable. It depends, it depends on each person. We look at each person individually. So
okay, yeah.
It's a diet. Mm-hmm.
Yes, compared to what basically mainstream medicine is telling people about arthritis, they're putting them on a medication as opposed to taking the foods out of their system that are causing the inflammation and the problems.
Yeah, for sure. Well, unfortunately, medical doctors, they have very little to no education on nutrition, and even if I wouldn't even call a nutritionist advice either, but because they're not reversing diseases either for the most part. But unfortunately, their modality is about prescribing pharmaceuticals, and that's what they learn. They learn that basically the body God or the universe makes mistakes and creates defective humans, and basically it can't be. It has to be treated with medications. Doesn't reverse the condition, but it gets you to live by taking medications all your life. And in some cases, some medications, people aren't going to be changing their lifestyles. Some medications will allow them to continue with bad habits for a little longer than if they didn't have the medications, or, for example, people with atherosclerosis, people with heart disease, and they put stents in their arteries. That allows them, the technology that allows them to live longer, continuing their bad habits. Now, they get and so people want a quick fix. That's a society we're raised in. We believe in instant gratification, and it's hard to break free from that. So I think whatever one resonates with, that's what they should go with. Ultimately, you have to make the decision for yourself, and I believe people have to be in when you're going to follow a certain path. You have to be in it 100% mind, body, and soul.
Yes. Very true. That our internal belief system, our desire to follow something, our feelings about it has such a strong impact on what is going to, how our physiology is going to respond and heal. And I have read, information that talks about it. Yes, if someone's already tuned into synthetics, it takes that transition period for them to tune out of these synthetics as being what their body even responds to. So there are factors to consider. Yeah, and with different types of medications, they work that out with their doctor as far as weaning off them, like diabetics. They wean off their medications. Diabetics type 2, little by little, as their blood sugars drop, because you don't want them to go hypoglycemic, and have them have problems if they don't adjust their medications and their insulin intake if they're on insulin. And so, these things, people would work with their doctor to wean themselves off. Not all, some medications can be gotten off of quickly, with a doctor. In some medications, people need to be weaned off. So that's something people discuss with their doctor as they're pursuing a detoxification protocol and going the fruit-based, raw, vegan, low-fat way in healing. So, you try to work together. If you have, your medical doctor take your medications, you let them know that you change your diet, and let the test results speak for themselves. The doctor can be taking blood tests, and as the different markers change, he'll know that he'll have, what he'll have to do and to adjust the dosage and stuff. Yes, in today's time frame, many doctors are shaking their heads when people come back and have practiced this way of life, and they have cured, healed, changed significantly, improved a condition that they've had. So it's a very good thing. We are also teaching the medical profession at the same time, especially those that are open. So it's a very good thing.
It's great for the people that are open, for sure.
And do you have a little bit of time to talk about symptoms like IBS, Crohn's, celiac, non-celiac, and basically leaky gut? So, meaning that those are symptoms that people look at and they don't always associate that this is something that is happening because their food has been adulterated. So in its adulterated state, what is the food doing to the inside of the intestines that is causing these types of diseases?
Yeah, for sure. Again, with the standard American diet, and I have to leave in a second, but with the standard American diet, eating high of proteins, refined flours, all these processed foods, so they're taking up their intestinal wall, and their colons are expanding, and they got all this mucoid plaque caked up, and that's wreaking havoc. They're not eating fiber. They're going to the restroom maybe once a day or once every other day. We're supposed to go to the restroom after every substantial meal. So if that's 3 meals a day, that's 3 times one should be having a bowel movement. So same thing. You want to increase your fruits and vegetables and decrease your acidic foods. And for some people, they got to pick it out completely. And one thing is that a lot of people say, well, you know what, not every people want to do this route just to heal. And I say, well, you know what, you'll never be able to go back to eat exactly the way you were eating, but maybe some people, if your body can handle it, there might be a percentage of acidic foods your body can handle before it starts breaking down. So I think everybody's different, and that's everybody else's personal choice.
Yes. Okay. All right. Well, we are going to be saying goodbye to you now.
Okay. Well, thank you for having me on, and next time will be in a more relaxed way. I just didn't want to cancel it, and I kind of, was distracted on sometimes because I was walking out of the car and getting ready here for where I'm going. And but yeah, next time for next week I'll be at home, nice relaxed environment, so we can go into more depth about different things. Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, go ahead and enjoy your concert, and we will talk with you later then next week. Bye-bye now.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
You're welcome. Okay, so thank you to Ivo for staying that amount of time that he was able to. We thought maybe he would make it till 8, but that's okay. As you said, just didn't want to cancel. So what we had been discussing is the importance of understanding that a lot of the symptoms that we are experiencing, we tend to just put them in a category of, well, it's just my luck of the draw, or I'm getting older, and I hear this all the time with clients, and I mean all the time, and or my doctor said this, my doctor said that, and as Ivo pointed out, this is not our space to be against the medical profession, but to ask in certain situations a little for people to have more discernment, because there is a space where the medical profession has not been trained properly in these understandings. So if we go back to Ivo's discussion last week, we see that it was already 100 years ago that we were being informed by pioneers here that the diet we were eating was negatively affecting us. And that is Arnold Ehret's book, The Mucusless Diet. And already in that 100 years, that space was suppressed from coming to our attention. And we could say, okay, it was an oversight, but if you do your research and if you are paying attention to situations that are taking place in the world, you will have an understanding that there is something going on that is attempting to keep us suppressed from living to our full potentials. There's a degradation to our food, which has resulted in a degradation to our physical vehicle. So what took place is that the medical profession does not have the understanding of the space of removing the toxins that are in our diet in order so that the body can have the energy to begin to do the healing process that it is already programmed to do. And I really like how Ivo was talking about the fact that we should look at the fact that these physical bodies we are in have been altered slightly in the past. However, because our genetics were interfered with somewhat, but that doesn't take away from the original source created, God created space that manifested itself, these vehicles to experience itself through. So these vehicles have DNA within them that we can turn on that is very powerful and has potential to do so much more than we are aware of. And so when you are in the spaces of deciding how to approach health issues that have come to your concern, if that is the space you decided to begin looking into this, allow yourself to do some research. It's very easy to go online and get associated with some of the people who are in the, we would call them the tribes of following, the different food groups, the different systems that Ivo's been talking about, and put yourself in these groups and listen, because the stories that come through my feed for the people, and many of them go on to becoming detox specialists because of what they were able to do for themselves. When you read story after story and you know this is a true space, these are people who know people here, and you can go on research, Google Dr. Morse. He has countless questions and answers videos on every topic you can think of to ask about a health condition that you're working through. So the free information is all over the place. And I did want to also let everyone know that Ivo had mentioned 4 books that were also available in PDF format, and I listed those 4 books, which came from Arnold Ehret, Dr. Morse, Herbert Shelton, the Food Combining PDF, which are their books online, and then also Douglas Graham. So those books, links, PDF online, are listed on my Facebook page, and I also put them in my newsletter. If you're a new listener and you'd like that, friend me. My Facebook page is public. Go to that and you can see that, and you can begin to read this information and help yourself to have a little more of an open-minded approach as to what is being given to us per a system so far. There was a series called The Truth About Cancer, and that long series, as I was talking about with Ivo, has very many different approaches in it. And there are medical approaches. So if you're comfortable in that system, there were medical approaches that were being done by medical practitioners who found different ways to work with and heal cancer, as opposed to using the space of radiation and chemotherapy, which is basically putting more acid into an already acidic body and lowering the body's immune system as a result of that. And of course, we know some people have made it through that, but as Ivo was saying, what takes place if you listen to some of these cancer videos that were in this documentary series is that the stem cells that produce the cancer aren't actually reached in using chemo and radiation, and generally that is why in a 5-year time frame they are finding that some type of cancer may come back again. So definitely there is all different types of information. And what I wanted to talk about with symptoms like IBS and Crohn's, celiac and non-celiac, is that our foods have been adulterated to the point where they are very different than they were 50 years ago. So, for instance, if we look at wheat, the wheat we're consuming is not the wheat that we consumed, that our grandparents consumed. We are consuming a product that has been hybridized. It's been specifically bred to produce more, to be more resistant to pest infestation and to be workable with in baking. And as a result of that, and the fact that very many other wheat-based items, for example, are not germinated, when you are using wheat that's not sprouted, then you have factors in there that are more harsh on the body. And what is taking place is that when people have these symptoms, digestive problems, headaches, joint pains, skin irritation, fatigue, mood disruptions, other chronic diseases, these can be and are being traced back to these issues with, for example, wheat, because wheat was hybridized, which is adulterated in a sense, for profit and greed. So by the time you now take wheat and put it into fast foods and processed foods, not only are we consuming adulterated food that is hurting us, we're consuming food that we're consuming more of it because it's just like the meat, it's more accessible for us. We have come away from the natural foods that we were eating that is more of our species-related foods. There is a Minneapolis-based functional medicine specialist who said, adverse food reactivity is a consideration in every patient I see. Every patient. And on top of the adverse food reactivity list is wheat. Now, I'm talking about wheat also because in some cases when people move into a plant-based diet, we also want to be cautious that you don't move into a situation where you start to consume foods that are not healthy. So there are very many people who go on to becoming a vegan, but they would term themselves a junk food vegan because there are many poor foods, junk foods, that are in the vegan category. So we want to be very careful if you are moving into a plant-based diet for observing that you are not consuming something like GMOs also, for example, do more harm in the long run than good. So in the wheat, of course, people started to move away from the gluten, and that was helping, but not in all cases. So the other factors there are the glyphosate, the agricultural chemicals. There are what's called fructans and ATIs, which is amylase trypsin inhibitors, mycotoxins, which is fungus, and microbial transglutaminase. And these are terms for chemicals that are within in either bacteria or fungus that is within the wheat products that also are causing irritations to the insides of the intestines. And what's happening in, for example, IBS is what is called leaky gut. So symptoms of like diverticulosis and IBS, Crohn's, etc. What you have is that these adulterations have caused lesions to open up in the intestinal walls. So they call that intestinal permeability, which is leaky gut. And what that does is it allows bacteria, toxins, undigested food to go directly into the bloodstream. So if this is continuing and it's unchecked, then that goes on to becoming an autoimmune condition. So then you see symptoms of like eczema and neurological issues. So what people then treat for eczema with topical solutions, etc., even psoriasis, these are literally toxins that are coming up to the surface, and they're burning the surface of the skin, and they're not being looked at as that by, still some mainstream areas of thinking in mainstream medicine. So what happens is then people go on steroids and other, medications. I worked personally with someone who was consuming a vegetarian diet, and I'm not sure about the grains she was consuming, but she was just about to have to be put on steroids, as they said, for the rest of her life because of the inflammation in her legs. And this was years ago. I did talk about this in, I believe, my EFT radio show that I did. And in this case, she was consuming soy, which she was allergic to. So the soy that she was consuming was adulterated, or there was a problem already in her leaky gut, but inflammation was leaking through her systems there in the intestines and going down into her legs. And they were going to put her on steroids for that. Because she removed the foods that were soy, first of all, that were problematic for her. Her system healed itself, and within it was probably a year's time, she ran a marathon. And the difference between those two outcomes of what that could have been is very significant. So that's why this space of looking at the common symptoms that we have are something we need to go a little bit more deeper in than what we're normally being told. As a person who practices massage, I can determine when people's tissue has interstitial inflammation in it. Now, there can be different reasons for that inflammation coming from a secondary cause or a first cause edema. But nonetheless, you have interstitial fluids that are in there, and symptoms of people having a fatty fluid-looking face. This is actually from the lymphatic system not functioning properly. And as I was talking about, then you have this excess fluid that is in the system and nothing is functioning properly. So as everything starts to increase in being clogged up, the liver isn't functioning, filtering properly, the kidneys aren't filtering properly, then lymphatic is backing up. You basically have your sewer system, what they call the cells pooping, just pooping in, and it's not being taken out. So that's when people get, especially up in the upper chest area, there's what's called a sore spot that people will have. And the lymph nodes are sore. So if you take your finger and in your sternal notch, which is at the base of the neck there, that U shape, and you go 3 inches down and 3 inches over to either side, this is a place where we would tap when we do EFT, or we call it the sore point. We would rub there because it's a lymphatic drainage space. So the lymphatic system mostly comes up, and there's more lymph nodes on the left side there by the left armpit, and you can get lymphatic clogging, especially in that area. So if you are sore there, not only do you know you probably have emotional issues stored in that area, but you have clogging that's happening in there. Okay, so it is time again to take a commercial break. So I'm just going to take 4 minutes here and I will be right back.
Feminine Frequency Radio Network hosts shows 7 days a week. Call in to listen live 929-477-1183 and dial 1 to connect to the studio to ask a question, or listen online via blogtalkradio.com/Feminine Frequency Radio Network. Organic Frequency Radio Show is 1.5 hour live chat with Stephanie and Oksana and their lovely guests about the nature of existence and holistic way of living here and now, and perhaps even after. Join us every Monday at 6:30 p.m. Pacific Time. Call-in number to listen live is 929-477-1183, and to ask a question, press 1 to connect to the studio. Our guests share their stories and walking path of their healing, along with services that they have developed and packaged for the rest of the world to experience and benefit from. We're here to hold a space for an exchange of experiences for the purpose of evolvement and expansion of consciousness.
Are you a mother, father, teacher, healer, trendsetter, or innovator concerned with our future generation? Come join the family at Small Voices, Big World, where we talk to leading experts in child development, care, compassion, friendship, and community. Join us live Saturdays at 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on the Feminine Frequency Radio Network. We hope you join us as we spark new ideas that will shape our future and the small voices that will create this big world.
Hello and welcome. You are now entering the corridors of Twilight Epiphanies Talk Radio with your host, Cindy Magnuson, premiering Thursday evenings, 7 to 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time on Feminine Frequency Radio Network. You are invited on a talk radio journey to the center of self. Join us as Cindy guides you, the listeners, in sensory and perception upgrades where revelations and golden epiphanies pierce the veils of illusion. Don't miss this opportunity for your next dose of Twilight Epiphanies. Okay, and here we are continuing with our talk, focused tonight on how we can look at symptoms that we're experiencing as being potentially related back to food items that we could eliminate from our diet in order to help our body to do what it knows how to do best, which is heal. So what I hear over and over again on Facebook pages is that we are getting out of the body's way. That in essence, the even foods that we are taking in, and even in the herb space, they like to talk about it gently as a fact that you're assisting a healing process, but the body itself is designed to heal. It innately knows what to do, and we just want to get out of its way. So let's go back a little bit about acidosis. So I had luckily copied something from online today, and I'm just going to take you through because it really pertains to what I was introducing already, that we tend to not always associate what a symptom is back to the process that has happened in our physical body in order for this symptom to manifest, and how we can relate that back to what is called acidosis. And Dr. Robert Morris writes this: acidosis creates bonding of fats, minerals, and other constituents, creating stones of all types, including liver, gallbladder, and kidney stones. It also creates the adhesion of blood cells and platelets. All this causes cellular starvation through a lack of nutrient utilization, strokes, and the like. So, as Ivo was talking about acids, acid-producing foods that we're trying to eliminate, these adulterated foods, consuming too much of something, consuming foods that have been altered by the addition of chemical processes in them, antibiotics and such. So acid, as I was saying, when it comes to the surface, it burns. So it is destroying cells and tissues. It's making coagulation happen. It's inflaming. It's causing inflammation also, hardening. And when you have it already affecting part of the body, it goes in and works its way all the way through an organ and then into the glands. So by the time you have your glands compromised, then you have a set of symptoms that we're going to see for each of those glands that produces symptoms. So if we look at the pineal gland is affected already. That would be inflammation that has made its way all the way up to the top of our head. So literally it begins low in the body, and when you are having inflammation that is giving you symptoms from the pituitary and the pineal gland, for example, then you already have quite a bit of systemic backup of lymphatic drainage that should be coming out of the body. Okay, so that's if your sleeping's being affected, if your hair is going gray prematurely, if your skin pigmentation is changing, then that's something with the pineal gland. The pituitary gland, which is called a master gland and controls all the other glands, that of course affects tallness and age spots, sunspots, moles, obesity, our menstruation cycle, for example. The thyroid gland, okay, if you're feeling tired, if you are having calcium issues, that can be related to the thyroid gland. If you are feeling with the adrenal glands, there's a host of symptoms that arise from sugar metabolism issues. So you could be dizzy, have issues with low iron or zinc or selenium, multiple sclerosis, asthma, shortness of breath. If the pancreas is having issues, of course, that would be blood sugar issues like the diabetes that we were talking about earlier. Parathyroid glands can be symptoms such as hernias, spider veins, wrinkles, anxiety, depression, low calcium levels, prolapsed colon, and so on. So the thought process here, again, is to start to reassociate these not with something that a pill, first of all, is going to handle, but look at, or even just exactly a superfood right away to take care of it, or a supplement. Its holistic approach is to look at what is causing the acidosis in the first place that started this, that's made its way up here. So, I think that's about all that I'm going to continue with here in summarizing up what we started with tonight. Thank you for everyone who hung in there with patience. I had potentially seen if we could get somebody else for tonight, and that didn't work out. And Ivo just really wanted to do it and felt that which amazes me, that he could even speak as well as he did while he had so much going on. But we will be back next week with being able to have that all taken care of and be nice and quiet for you. So as we're rounding up here, in our next talks coming up, we are going to begin taking a look at what is the difference between cleansing and fasting. There are umpteen different cleanses. There are umpteen different types of fasting. When would you potentially use one type or use another type? What is the difference between the two, cleansing versus fasting? And that's what topics we're going to introduce and begin with next week as we start. And then I would like to remind everyone again here regarding the sixth prize. I want to tell you a little bit more about that. So our sixth prize in the Lionsgate Feminine Frequency Radio Network launch is a 3-month package of online holistic maintenance courses with Oksana Gonchar, and those are 18 classes that you would follow along with for 3 months. Is talking about improving your physical health and well-being. It addresses emotional balance and looking for the root of the emotional struggles that we go through in life, whether it's in relationships, having depression or fear, whatever it is, a lack of trust. She's addressing the mind and the repetitive thought patterns that are basically creating a barrier between what we want to accomplish and what seems to be getting in our way to do that. Oksana is an innovator, dancer, radio show host, writer, and an advocate for wellness and self-awareness. She has combined years of research, knowledge, and practice together to develop these holistic wellness classes and packages consisting of easy steps to follow that target body, mind, and emotions so that they can function harmoniously together. She understands that the journey towards well-being starts with a healthy body, a clear mind, and balanced emotions. The value of this package is $60, and this is how you would enter to win. You need to first of all follow at Feminine Frequency Radio Network on Instagram and also tag a friend in the comments on the original post. For additional chances to win, you can repost the original Instagram post with Feminine Frequency Radio. You can follow at Oksana_Gonchar on Instagram. You can like and or share at Feminine Frequency Radio Network on Facebook. And you can like and or share at Be Ancient Wisdom on Facebook. Okay. Now the purchase, there is no purchase necessary for that again. The prize has no cash value. The contest started August 28th, and it is ending August 31st at 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. The winner will be announced on Friday, August 31st, live on Feminine Frequency Radio Network's Facebook and Instagram pages. The promoter is Feminine Frequency Radio Network, and the winner is selected via namepickerninja.com. Also, we have the list up of the previous winners to date so far, all of the other 5 packages that have been given away, and that's on Facebook and the Instagram pages. So in conclusion here, I would maybe like to just end with an EFT session. So, something that I realized in working with very many people, the most important space that you overcome first of all is that you are going to dedicate time and focus and intention to healing yourself. And once you decide that, it's good to have a set of tools available. And there are very many tools to use. One of those tools, of course, that I use is emotional freedom technique. And it's a tapping process that I've talked about before, where you are simply tapping in places on the physical body that are these meridian endpoints, and you are reassociating a space that is anxiety-ridden with the response of what tapping produces, which is it initiates the parasympathetic nervous system and it produces a calming effect. So when you are doing affirmations in a calming effect, that becomes a more creative space. So the EFT can be used however you like to use it best. If you are having trouble even getting started, you can use it to use statements to get yourself started so that you don't keep blocking yourself. Other people, and this is how I like to use it, I tend to know when it's best for me personally to introduce a change. And then when I'm ready, I go at it. I know that I'm going to devote the full time and devotion to it. Doesn't mean that I haven't tried that a couple times, but there's still a point in me where I know that when I sit down and I do those serious daily EFT sessions, I mean business, and I have upgraded this particular space in my life to the priority top here, that this is important. And truthfully, I don't always have that in my top category. There are other spaces that have shared that top priority category. So it's always a personal method in how you're going to address your particular space. So I'm going to do a very open-ended EFT session that I'm just going to, what I call my umbrella type one, where I'm just going to be talking statements, affirmation statements that help to open the door to initiate healing by beginning with self-forgiveness. That is generally one of the most important spaces to begin with in order to have success on your journey, because it opens up a passion to do something that sometimes has been blocked by some type of a feeling of a lack of deservedness. Everyone listening, self included, deserves improved health. I completely do understand that life is very complex these days, and it is always a challenge going in for our own particular reasons and space that we're in to create these changes. So anything little that you can do, for example, for yourself in the next week, appreciate yourself for that. And if you need it to be just something small, make it something small, because small will snowball as you continue to feed it. It will grow. So you can cross your hands over your heart and I'm going to begin with 3 even though statements. Even though I have been challenged with moving into improved dietary habits, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Even though my mind sometimes is screaming, no, it's just too much work to begin. I feel so overwhelmed. I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Even though I am still experiencing fear of taking my health into my own hands and trusting these new processes, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Now, as I continue, you can tap on any part of the body that you feel comfortable with. I am choosing in the here and now, in all dimensional spaces, past, present, and future, to open this door to initiating self-healing by learning and unlearning data that I had been programmed with in the past, and now being open to receiving information that is important for me to understand, where I can simply take even 15 minutes a day and read a little bit of one of the suggested books to understand how I deserve the time that I'm giving to help myself, to help my body, to help my future, my loved ones. Even though I feel it's a struggle to leave the comforting food items that I feel give me a feeling of peace and comfort, I am choosing to be open to receiving the information that shows me how our food system has been changed, that it has been altered, chemically altered, structurally altered, added to, which is producing in our physical vehicles a response of stagnation, of inflammation, which ends up resulting in a state of illness where I am able now to learn these new systems and reverse engineer what has been created. I choose to be open to this new system. I allow healing. I allow myself new learning. I understand I can make up my own mind in all situations. And now I'm going to use some affirmations that help us to already be in the space. I am enjoying this new system. I am seeing results of me eliminating from my diet what is causing obstruction, inflammation, and acidosis. I enjoy making little changes in my routine. I enjoy this systematic, rational approach to health. I enjoy learning. I am feeling my own responsibility and self-power coming back to me again. And with your hands back over your heart, I am joy, I am peace, I am love, I am serenity, I am calm, I am strong. I am courage. I am discipline. I am determined. I am grateful. I am in gratitude for new awarenesses. I am love. So be it. Okay, well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining me. And as I stated already, next week we will be going a little bit deeper into cleansing and fasting, what those terms mean, what your choices are, and also giving you more information. And the books or PDFs or people that Ivo mentioned tonight, I will during this week post that information. Again, that was Dr. Gabriel Cousins. The documentary is Simply Raw. It was Reversing Your Diabetes in 30 Days, something like that. Very fascinating, informative, and super helpful, and may save someone's life. So I wish you all love and happiness, and we will see you next week. Thank you for joining me.